ICE must get out of Minnesota now?
Well, if democracy means anything at all, it means that this administration must be allowed to carry out the agenda the American people voted for.
Did you just hear that? Bernie Sanders standing on the Senate floor calling ICE, the men and women who enforce our laws, terrorists. Comparing American law enforcement to Nazis. Telling an entire state to defy the federal government. This man has lost his mind, and Eric Schmitt just exposed every single bit of it. This is the moment the left does not want you to see. Hit that like button right now, subscribe if you're new, and stay to the end, because I'm breaking down exactly why Schmitt just delivered the most important speech in that chamber in years. Let's go.
Not and must never be about federal agents shooting American citizens down in cold blood, breaking down doors to arrest people, or sending 5-year-olds to detention centers, all in clear violation of our Constitution. That is what takes place in dictatorships, in authoritarian societies, where there is not a rule of law. It does not and it must not be allowed to take place in the United States or any democracy on earth. So let me be very clear. ICE must get out of Minnesota now. ICE must get out of Maine now. ICE must stop terrorizing the American people.
The senator from Missouri.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, we hear a lot of talk from the other side about democracy. Well, if democracy means anything at all, it means that this administration must be allowed to carry out the agenda the American people voted for. Enforcing our immigration laws, securing the border, and deporting immigrants who are here illegally. This is not a new concept, by the way. Democrat presidents for the last 20 years have done this. But the other side never had any intention of letting this happen. President Trump moved forward with his agenda. They were never going to let us enforce our immigration laws against those who had broken them. Why is that? Well, because mass migration is not just one policy preference among many for today's Democrat Party. It is the policy priority, the fundamental organizing principle of their entire agenda. It is the foundation of their platform and the final end of their worldview. Not one single Democrat has called on leftists in the streets to stop impeding law enforcement with their cars or to stop physically attacking law enforcement. Not a single one. They have zero interest in lowering the temperature. At this point, it's so obvious it almost feels silly to say. In Minnesota and here in D.C., Democrats are actively and intentionally adding fuel to the fire. The mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, has claimed his city is invaded, under siege, occupied. The lieutenant governor of Minnesota, Peggy Flanagan, declared that our neighbors are being disappeared. It's just called kidnapping, and publicly called upon Americans to put your body on the line and not go silently into the night. The governor, Tim Walz, compared the ICE presence in Minnesota to a Nazi occupation and likened residents of Minneapolis to Anne Frank. On Monday, Walz published an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal declaring that the Trump administration's assault on Minnesota is a campaign of organized brutality against the people of our state. Just last week, he stood behind the metal gates of the governor's mansion with a bullhorn and told the crowd of protesters outside to go and cause trouble. These aren't unique examples. They are par for the course. Over the last month, we've heard similar things from just about every powerful Democrat in this country. I don't know what's in each and every one of their hearts. I don't know that. I don't know if they really believe that we're at war or that ICE is the Gestapo or that Minneapolis is under Nazi occupation. But whether or not they believe it, many of the people who hear them and listening to them do. And now, many of those people are taking these ideas to their final logical conclusion. And that's exactly what the people in power on the left actually want. They want the confrontations. They want the chaos. They want their conscious political strategy. That's what this is. Their conscious political strategy. They have decided that leaning in and ratcheting this up as far as it can go serves their political and ideological interests. So they're all in. And by the way, might I just point out, they're about ready to shut the government down again. They shut it down the first time because they wanted health care for illegal immigrants. Now they're willing to shut the government down, including FEMA funding and TSA funding, because they want to stop deportations of illegal immigrants. It is the single organizing principle of their party right now. Think about that for a moment. Really sit with this. Think about what it says about the kinds of people we're dealing with at this point. In a better era of American politics, we used to say things like, we all want what is best for the country. We just have different ideas about how to get there. When you hear statements like the ones that I just rattled off, it seems harder and harder to believe that right now.
Schmitt was razor sharp, and he was right about every single word. Bernie gets up there shaking his fist, calling ICE a death squad, claiming they are kidnapping children and shooting citizens, with zero evidence, zero facts, pure theater designed to make you fear the people protecting your country. That is not democracy. That is dangerous, reckless demagoguery from a man who has never held a real job in his life. And Schmitt called it exactly what it is. The American people voted for this. They voted for border security, they voted for deportations, they voted for law and order, and the left has decided that election simply doesn't count. That is the real authoritarianism happening in this country right now. But the most devastating part of Schmitt's speech is when he laid out what the Democrat governors and mayors have actually been saying out loud. Tim Walz comparing Minneapolis to Nazi-occupied Europe. The lieutenant governor telling people their neighbors are being disappeared. The mayor of Minneapolis screaming that his city is under siege over federal agents enforcing federal law. These people are not just wrong. They are deliberately pouring gasoline on a fire and handing matches to unstable people in the street. Schmitt said it plainly, they want the chaos. The confrontations, the drama, the rage, it is a conscious political strategy. And they are all in. And what is the hill they have chosen to die on? Shutting down the government, including FEMA, including the TSA, to protect people who broke the law to be here. Not veterans. Not citizens. Not American families. Illegal immigrants. That tells you everything you need to know about where the modern Democrat Party stands and who they actually serve. Schmitt is the fighter this moment demands. Bernie looked like a relic of a failed ideology standing next to that kind of moral clarity. Missouri is lucky to have him, and frankly, the whole country needs more of it.